The cosmic breakup. The real reason why Pluto isn't a planet anymore. This is the story of how we accidentally discovered a planet, fell in love with it, and then had to break up with it in front of the whole world. Imagine waking up one morning to discover that bananas are no longer considered fruits. I know it's an absurd and extreme example, but well, that's exactly how millions of people felt in 2006 when astronomers dropped a cosmic bombshell. Pluto was getting kicked out of the Planet Club. Textbooks became instant vintage collections. Classroom models turned into scientific relics. And an entire generation had to wrap their heads around the fact that everything they knew about the solar system had just gone sideways. But hold on, how does a planet just stop being a planet? Turns out, before 2006, we never actually had an official definition of what makes a planet a planet. It's like playing basketball for a century before someone finally writes down the rules. The International Astronomical Union, the IAU, decided it was time to fix this cosmic identity crisis, and they came up with 3 requirements for planetary status. The first 2 were pretty chill. Orbit the Sun? Check. Round shape from its own gravity? Pluto nails it. But then came the 3rd rule, clearing the neighborhood around its orbit. And that's when Pluto's planetary dreams went down faster than a meteor in Earth's atmosphere. Now, what's this clearing the neighborhood business all about? Picture a cosmic game of hungry hippos. A true planet is like that one aggressive hippo that dominates its territory, either eating up everything in sight or flinging other objects out of its way. Earth, total boss. Jupiter, absolute unit. But poor Pluto, it's more like a hippo that showed up late to the game and found itself sharing space with thousands of other objects in the Kuiper Belt. The whole situation has its roots in how our solar system came to be. Imagine throwing a cosmic pizza dough that breaks apart into countless pieces. The chunks that become planets were the ones that got big enough to either eat their neighbors or kick them out of their orbital space. Earth and the other planets managed this cosmic cleanup brilliantly. Pluto, on the other hand, is more like the president of a very crowded orbital homeowners association. It's got some authority, but it's definitely not running the show solo. The public reaction was nothing short of astronomical. People took this personally, as if Pluto was that cool friend who suddenly got uninvited from the solar system's biggest party. We had Disney's Pluto, countless mnemonic devices. My very educated mother just served us nothing, and decades of space documentaries, all centered around 9 planets. Pluto wasn't just a ball of ice and rock, it was practically family. Scientists found themselves in a peculiar position, trying to explain why this wasn't actually a demotion, but more of a reclassification. It's like telling someone their pet isn't actually a dog, but a very dog-like fox. The animal hasn't changed, just our understanding of what makes a dog a dog. Some scientists weren't having it, though. Alan Stern, who led NASA's New Horizons mission to Pluto, pointed out that even Earth hasn't completely cleared its orbital neighborhood. We've got asteroids and space junk hanging around like cosmic party crashers. This whole debate opened up a massive can of space worms. If Pluto isn't a planet, then what is it? Got fun and interesting answers? Leave them in the comments below. The answer led astronomers down a rabbit hole of new classifications, showing us that our solar system is less like a simple family portrait and more like an entire cosmic ecosystem. It's as if we've been calling everything with 4 legs and fur a dog, only to discover there's a whole world of fascinating creatures out there. The Pluto situation perfectly captures how science really works. It's not about memorizing facts set in stone. It's about being ready to redraw our cosmic maps when new evidence comes in. Sometimes that means saying goodbye to ideas we've grown attached to, like having exactly 9 planets. But hey, that's the beauty of science. It's not about what we want to be true. It's about discovering what's actually out there in this weird and wonderful universe of ours. And speaking of weird, the whole Pluto situation opened up an even bigger can of cosmic worms. Astronomers started realizing that our solar system was like a messy teenager's room, way more complicated than it looks at first glance. While everyone was focused on Pluto's demotion drama, the real story was unfolding behind the scenes. We were discovering that the edge of our solar system is absolutely packed with fascinating objects that don't fit into our neat little categories. Think about it. We went from a simple story of 9 planets marching in circles around the sun to uncovering a complex cosmic dance of objects of all sizes, shapes, and orbits. It's like thinking you're going to a small family dinner and walking into a full-blown galactic block party. Some of these objects are nearly as big as Pluto, some have moons of their own, and others are so weird they make Pluto look downright ordinary. The IAU's decision didn't just change Pluto's status, it fundamentally shifted how we think about our cosmic backyard. Imagine spending your whole life thinking your neighborhood was just houses, only to discover there are also apartments, tiny homes, tree houses, and underground bunkers. That's basically what happened to our view of the solar system. We didn't lose a planet, we gained a whole new perspective on what's out there. As we wrap our heads around this new vision of the solar system, one thing becomes crystal clear. The universe is way more interesting than our simple categories can capture. Pluto didn't need planetary status to be fascinating. It's got mountains made of water ice, a heart-shaped plain, and an atmosphere that changes with the seasons. It's like that friend who becomes way cooler once they stop trying to fit in with the popular crowd and just embrace their unique identity. So next time someone gets nostalgic about Pluto being a planet, remind them that reality is way cooler than our old, oversimplified view. We're not living in a solar system with just planets and asteroids. We're living in a cosmic wonderland filled with dwarf planets, Plutoids, centaurs, and probably some things we haven't even discovered yet. Pluto might have lost its planetary status, but it gained something better. It became our gateway to understanding just how amazingly complex our corner of the universe really is. Okay, let's sidestep talking about Pluto and into humans when they first started making sense of those mysterious dots in the night sky, eventually leading to finding Pluto. Long before telescopes, selfies from Mars rovers, or pictures of Pluto's heart-shaped surface, our ancestors looked up and saw 5 wandering lights among the fixed stars. These cosmic drifters, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, earned the name planets from the Greek word for wanderer. They were like the original cosmic celebrities, starring in myths, religions, and early attempts to figure out our place in the universe. Ancient astronomers were basically cosmic detectives working with the world's most limited toolkit, their eyes. They tracked these wandering lights with remarkable precision, but they had no way of knowing what they actually were. Imagine trying to study elephants from 10 miles away without binoculars. You'd see something big moving around, but good luck figuring out what it is. That's basically what ancient astronomers were dealing with. Then came 1608, and some clever folks in the Netherlands accidentally invented the telescope while playing around with lenses. Word of this new invention spread like cosmic wildfire, eventually reaching the ears of a sassy Italian scientist named Galileo Galilei. Within a year, Galileo had built his own improved version and pointed it at Jupiter. What he saw changed everything. 4 tiny dots dancing around the giant planet. These weren't just random stars, they were moons, proving that Earth wasn't the only world that could have satellites. This was a huge deal, like finding out your only child actually has secret siblings. The discovery of Jupiter's moons, now known as the Galilean moons, was the first crack in the ancient idea that everything in the cosmos revolved around Earth. It was also the first hint that our solar system was way more complicated than anyone had imagined. Fast forward to 1781 and we meet William Herschel, a musician turned astronomer who liked to build telescopes in his spare time. One night while doing his regular sky survey, he spotted something that didn't quite look right. At first, he thought it was just a comet, but after careful observation, this object turned out to be Uranus, the first planet discovered in recorded history. Herschel's discovery was mind-blowing. For thousands of years, everyone thought the 5 visible planets plus Earth were all there was. Finding Uranus was like discovering a new continent. It doubled the size of our known system overnight. Herschel became an astronomical rock star, got a sweet gig as King George III's personal astronomer, and even tried to name Uranus George's star. Thankfully, that didn't stick. But the real game changer came in 1801 when Giuseppe Piazzi spotted something weird between Mars and Jupiter. He named it Ceres, thinking he'd found a new planet. Then, something awkward happened. Astronomers started finding more objects in the same region. First Pallas, then Juno, then Vesta. Suddenly, what was supposed to be a nice, orderly solar system had a messy asteroid mosh pit between Mars and Jupiter. This kicked off the first real crisis in planetary classification. These new objects were definitely orbiting the Sun, but they were tiny compared to the known planets. Some astronomers kept calling them planets anyway, leading to astronomy textbooks in the early 1800s listing as many as 23 planets. If you think the Pluto debate was messy, imagine trying to memorize all those names in astronomy class. Eventually, astronomers realized they needed a new category for these objects. The term asteroid was coined, meaning star-like, because through telescopes they looked like points of light. This was the first time astronomers had to admit maybe not everything orbiting the Sun should be called a planet, a debate that would come back to haunt us with Pluto. The asteroid situation taught astronomers a valuable lesson. Sometimes the universe doesn't fit into our neat categories. It was like opening a box labeled planets and finding out nature had stuffed it full of cosmic diversity. This was just the beginning of a pattern that would repeat itself throughout the history of astronomy. The more we looked at space, the more complicated it got. After the asteroid belt shook up our understanding of the solar system, astronomers thought they had things pretty much figured out. But the cosmos had other plans, and it all started with some weird math about Uranus. The planet wasn't moving exactly the way Newton's law said it should. Either Newton was wrong, spoiler, he wasn't, or something else was pulling on Uranus. This cosmic game of guess what's messing with Uranus led to one of astronomy's greatest triumphs and eventually to Pluto's discovery. Two mathematicians, Urbain Le Verrier and John Couch Adams, independently calculated where this mystery planet should be. In 1846, when astronomers pointed their telescopes at the predicted spot, boom, there was Neptune, right where the math said it would be. This was huge. For the first time in history, humans had discovered a planet not by accidentally spotting it, but by using pure mathematical deduction. It was like solving a cosmic crime scene where the culprit was an entire planet. The success of Neptune's discovery got astronomers thinking, what if there were more planets out there? Some noticed that Uranus and Neptune still weren't moving exactly as predicted, leading to a speculation about yet another planet, the mysterious Planet X. Enter Percival Lowell, a wealthy astronomer with a magnificent mustache and an obsession with finding this hypothetical world. He built an entire observatory in Arizona dedicated to the search. Lowell spent years hunting for Planet X but died before finding it. However, he set the stage for what would become one of astronomy's most iconic discoveries. In 1930, a young astronomer named Clyde Tombaugh, working at Lowell's observatory, finally found something, a faint dot that moved against the background stars. The world celebrated the discovery of Planet X, which was soon named Pluto after the Roman god of the underworld. But there was a problem, a big one. As astronomers studied Pluto more closely, they realized it was way too small to account for the gravitational effects they'd been looking for. It was like searching for an elephant and finding a hamster. Sure, it's interesting, but it's definitely not what you were looking for. Later, it turned out there were no unexplained gravitational effects at all. The original calculations about Uranus and Neptune had been off. Pluto's discovery was a complete accident. Things got even weirder in the 1970s when astronomers discovered Pluto had a moon, Charon. This allowed them to calculate Pluto's mass accurately for the first time, and the results were shocking. Pluto wasn't just small, it was tiny, smaller than Earth's moon. The planet that had been celebrated as the mighty Planet X turned out to be more like Planet XS, extra small. But the real kicker came in the 1990s, when astronomers started finding more objects in Pluto's neighborhood. First came QB1 in 1992, then a flood of discoveries followed. Each new object was like another nail in the coffin of Pluto's planetary status. The region beyond Neptune wasn't empty space with one lone planet. It was packed with thousands of icy bodies. Pluto, it turned out, was just one of the bigger kids in a very crowded cosmic playground. The situation reached a tipping point in 2005 with the discovery of Eris, an object in the outer solar system that appeared to be even bigger than Pluto, though later measurements showed it was actually slightly smaller. This forced astronomers to face a difficult choice: either call everything of that size a planet, which would mean adding dozens of new planets to the list, or admit that Pluto and its neighbors needed a different classification. We all know how that turned out. The 2006 IAU decision wasn't just about demoting Pluto. It was the culmination of a century-long journey that began with an accidental discovery, continued through decades of new findings, and ended with a complete reimagining of our solar system structure. Pluto's story is really the story of how scientific understanding evolves. Sometimes we find exactly what we're looking for. Sometimes we find something completely different. And sometimes what we find forces us to change how we think about everything. The search for Planet X had failed to find what it was looking for, but it had succeeded in revealing something far more interesting: a whole new region of our solar system, filled with diverse objects that would challenge our definitions and expand our cosmic horizons. In the end, Pluto's greatest contribution to astronomy wasn't as the ninth planet, but as the key that unlocked our understanding of the solar system's true complexity. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Pluto's planetary drama, watch the videos on the end screens. As always, stay insanely curious.